Now, the Bram Weinstein Show on Washington's new home for sports, ESPN 630.
Hey, babies. Hey, babies. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi. Hi, everyone. What's going on?
Not much.
What's up? Happy Wednesday. Today's Wednesday, right?
It is, yeah,
Wednesday.
it is. I can't keep this week straight either.
Yeah.
I'm about to hit you know where you hit the breaking point in the season?
Oh, well, you're on the West Coast
two.
trip.
I have two, though.
Yeah.
It's always right before the All-Star break when we're like 50-ish games in, 45 games in, and you're just counting down to get that week off. And then it's this trip. Every year I start to lose my mind. So
Let me tell you what's going to help you. What you're doing to getting in shape.
what do you mean? Like,
So-
what? That it's going to get me back in
You'll get through
rhythm?
the season differently. That's what I'm telling you. Like last year, after not this past season, the season before, 2022,
right.
I was a little fat. Remember? Smoot called me roly-poly. Fat's a strong word for me. I'm like incapable of getting fat. Like I can't be obese. Like my genetics don't allow
Sure.
it.
Yeah, right.
But for me, I was overweight and it was obvious. So much so, Smoot like tickled my stomach and called me roly-poly, which ticked me off.
He didn't tickle your stomach.
Ticked me off.
He didn't tickle your stomach.
Well, pointed at it, and he's like,
You're like, you might as well.
yeah, who's Nelson? He was Nelson, and he was pointing at me going, ha ha, yeah. So it made me mad, but he was also right.
Okay.
I was a little too overweight.
Okay.
And after the 2022 season, it took me, like, the seasons are long. I love it, but it's long. And when it's over, it hits you like a thud.
Yeah, right.
I had to sleep for a month.
Yeah,
Ta-
right.
So, like I always say, like it takes me a month to 6 weeks to emotionally and physically get over it because you've just worked every day since July. And so I made a determination. I go, I'm getting in shape. I'm going to lose weight, change my diet. I changed my diet,
right.
started
Well
working
aware.
out all the time,
Yeah.
lost 20 pounds or more. It depends. I toggle now, but somewhere in there, 20 to
whatever.
25 pounds. I've maintained it now. I felt so much better last season.
All right.
And we had the same really late bye week, which I hate. The second that comes out, I'm
it's
get into
because
December.
you're in survival mode.
I need that to happen before Thanksgiving, please.
Right,
Because then you're going to catch your breath for a few days. Every time it's in December, it's like, oh God, and everyone else is rested. They're fresh as a daisy.
Right.
So I did that, and now this year, I'm not only going to maintain it, but I'm trying to change my body a little bit, like get a little leaner, a little more muscular. I'm not trying to look like John Cena from the Oscars, but I'm going to work.
Trying to look like The Rock.
Not that. I'm going for a leaner. I'm going for the not cut Cristiano Ronaldo look. That's what I'm going for.
Okay.
Lean. That's what I want all the women to see Ronaldo. When they
Can I
see
say
me,
Messi
that's what I want.
instead?
No, he's short and kind of ugly.
But
Ronaldo
he's
is
in
kind of
shape.
tall
That's
and
what I'm
good.
telling you.
Yeah, but like Ronaldo's got that body I'm looking for. He takes his shirt off and I'm like, well, I get
I'm
it.
so mad I brought up Messi.
No, come on. I don't look like him. Stop it. Stop it. That's not nice.
What?
Like,
There's nothing wrong with
that's not
Messi.
nice.
Nothing wrong with
What if
Messi.
I'm like, you look like Tommy Boy? Like, it's like terrible. Like, no, it's terrible.
I just was going for the guy that was a little less chiseled. That was
Come
all.
on. I'm not looking for the chisel. You're right. I'm not looking for the chiseled. I am looking for just better.
Okay. All right, fair
just better. I'm trying to tone it out. This year.
Got it.
But the point is, after I did that last year, I got over the season quicker.
Okay.
I also got through the season differently. I still got sick 5 times, but that's just because you work every day.
Right.
But actually, those things didn't bother me as much through the season, so I survived. So that's what I'm saying. Because of what you're doing, all the running and losing the weight, I think you're going to see the difference next year when you go into the season.
Sounds right. Yeah.
And you're going to be like, this time of year, you're going to be like, hey, that Western Canadian road trip isn't as bad as it normally is.
That's fair.
Because
Especially
it is mid-March and you're going to Western Canada. That sucks.
Yeah,
That
no.
does suck.
Well, it happens every year like this, but it's also just the second breaking point because the season is so long. And no joke, the Caps last like 21 games here. It's like 21 games in 45 nights.
Yeah.
So the schedule, like remember they were having a weird schedule early in the season where
they had a
were
lot of
playing
days
once
off.
and then we'd be off for 5 days. It was coming back. It's all coming back right now. So yeah, it's all that. But
all right.
But full disclosure, half marathon on Saturday. So that's what I've been training.
Where are you
for.
running through?
DC, rock and roll marathon, half marathon.
Where's that at? Like what part
it
of
starts
DC?
starts on Constitution Ave on the mall, and
that's
then
cool.
we go through. You take the Arlington Bridge, go Rock Creek, go up Calvert Hill, which is bitch of the race pretty much. And then
the uphill part of it.
Yeah. Then you go through Adams Morgan across and then back down towards Constitution.
You got me beat. I couldn't do that.
I mean,
I couldn't do it.
If you trained for it, you could.
I don't like running.
I love running.
I like biking. Like I could.
Okay.
I think if I trained for like some kind of bike situation like that, I think I could do it.
Yeah,
but
you
I don't like
could.
running.
It's the training is the hard part.
Yeah.
Like if I were going into this weekend, you know whether you're good or not.
I hear these terrible stories about running distances like that. Like your feet get hurt bad, your knees get hurt bad. If you do marathons, your nipples bleed, like that type of stuff.
Okay,
I'm just out on that. I don't no nipple bleeding. I'm out.
On that, there's solution there. There's a glide. You use that.
Why would I? Where's your nipple glide, guys? I need it. I'm running this weekend.
It's just
I don't want to go to
anti-chafing.
this. I don't want to go.
Anti-chafing.
Okay. Yeah, well, inner thighs, I think. Yeah, that gets you.
Yeah, it's a gold bond
I hear
stick.
your knees go sideways when you run a lot.
It depends. Well, same thing.
It doesn't sound like it's good for you, is what it is. It doesn't sound like it's good for you. You run a lot, your nipples bleed.
I'm just going to school you here. You need the right gear, too. People wear the wrong shoes or whatever. You got to wear the right stuff.
Well, I'm not going to wear Crocs.
Well,
You know,
I would hope not. Some
right.
people probably do.
That'd be funny.
Going into next
Do you have the people that do the barefoot version of this?
what the like actual nothing or the barefoot type shoes?
Both. I've heard that. I've
both.
seen a lot of the information that says if you're going to do this, you actually should do it barefoot. But running through the streets of D.C. barefoot, you're an idiot.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
You want tetanus? Idiot? Like, okay.
Don't do that. Full disclosure, though, going into next season, I'm training for a full marathon. So that'll be the summer training.
There you go.
Going into next season.
Okay.
So that's happening as well. So
Very good.
Anyways.
All right, here we are today.
Enough about us.
Day three. 4 o'clock is when all of this stuff can actually be official in the NFL free agency. That's when you can officially sign everybody. Zach Ertz was officially signed because he was a free agent that wasn't under contract before the league year.
Yep.
So that's why they were able to sign him officially yesterday and did a press conference with him. Today is the day that all of these deals can be officially signed. So there is 53 minutes left for someone to change their mind. We did have one of those. Will Lutz is not going to wherever he was going to go. He went back to Denver.
Yes,
So we did have one of
exactly,
those.
Yep.
We had the J.D. McKissick of this year so far was a kicker who changed his mind at the last minute.
Yeah,
haven't had anything else.
The joke on that one that I love is Mike Golick Jr. has talked about this. He goes, there's certain players that if you just match whatever they were going to sign for, they don't want to move.
Right.
That they just go, if you match the contract and I don't have to move my stuff, I'm back.
Right.
And that's what Golick Jr. has always lamented.
Yeah.
He actually joked about that when J.D. McKissick came back. He goes,
Yeah.
J.D. McKissick didn't want to move his stuff, so he came back to Washington.
I don't really want to move, guys. Just match this.
Would really not like to move all my crap up to Buffalo.
I know. I wish I didn't have to go so far as to agree with somebody else. You should have just matched it beforehand, but here we are.
Yep.
Latest one that the Commanders did from last night, this was after the show, was Jeremy Chin. So that means goodbye Cam Curl for real,
Yeah.
I think.
I think so,
I
too.
can't imagine that they're signing him and Jeremy Chin. Albeit, once again, this is another contract that's short, that's not a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
They have a tremendous amount of cap room left after signing 12 people.
Yes.
And granted, one's a long snapper, so that's not going to take up a lot of room. And the other's a kicker, and that's not going to take up a lot of room. But 10 position players, many of which project as starters, not taking up a lot of cap room is a pretty interesting, decent thing that's occurred here. It's probably my favorite part of the whole thing. They're filling out the roster. The roster looks better. Jeremy Chin, here's his situation. His first 2 years, dynamo.
Yep.
Like
Right.
full on,
Yep.
almost rookie of the year,
Yep.
defensive rookie of the year. He's Ron would love him. Position flex, love him.
That's right.
Gets in the box.
Yep. Right.
Not a huge guy, but plays like a big guy. Like hits
Which is
hard.
what they want. So fits
Violent
fits
hitter.
their MO. Yeah.
Has been injured the last couple of years. And I need to talk to my buddy Anish down in Carolina to get the skinny on it. He's had injuries. But the other thing is the rub is that he was misutilized in the defense over the last 2 years. That's what they're saying, that he was used too much as a pure safety and that he really is more of one of those linebacker safety guys, and he's better closer to the line of scrimmage. So let's see what Dan Quinn and Joe Witt do with him. And once again, like every other signing that they've had so far, it's short, 1 year. It's not a lot of money. It's a prove yourself deal. And once again, like I said yesterday, they signed 12 guys. They're not all going to be hits. Like there's no way. But there's not a single one of them that they're tied to long-term at all. There's not a single one of them that hurts their cap now or into the future. They are laying a baseline of filling out spots on this roster that needed to be filled out. And it's very telling how they felt about the carryovers.
Yep.
And also how desperate this team needed an influx of talent here.
Yes.
Not that I think that is, a surprise, but sometimes, and I'll even fall victim to this, like I'm too close to it. So I have felt, for a couple of years, that's not a Super Bowl team out there. But I even fell into the category of their talent is probably a little better, than realistically what it was. What this group is saying, because they could have re-signed just about anybody that they had up for free agents, and they're not re-signing any of them with the exception of Jeremy Reaves. That happened today.
Yeah.
But that's,
special
teamer, low-tier number. 2-year deal.
Good locker room guy, too.
Great locker room guy.
Yep.
Great guy. Like, really. In fact, John Keim just did an interview with him. I think he was trying to make his pitch like, please keep me here. But did a long-form interview and told his story again of how he'd been cut 8 million times. Great guy. Terrific locker room guy. Special teams ace.
Yep.
Backup.
Yep.
Backup safety. You got to have it, right?
Yep.
They brought him back. That signing, too, also signals Cam Curl's not coming back.
Yeah.
They brought back Reaves and Chin, This is, so even I have fallen victim to, because I'm too close to it, and I want them to be good, that I've overvalued their talent too. I've said a lot of times, like, cupboard's not bare here, and it isn't. They do have marquee players. I still think John Allen can be. I hope he's going to be more like 2022 than 2023.
Sure.
I think Deron Payne is. I think Terry is. I think Jahan can be. But then you start really giving a good think about it, and there aren't many more than that. I think Montez would have been had they kept him around, but he's not here anymore. Who else is it?
Right.
And that's what they're basically saying to us right now. The whole offensive line, with the exception of Sam Cosmi, not that we didn't know this, needs to be changed. They're going to get another receiver. To what degree do they get a receiver is going to be very, very telling. Mm-hmm. And Mike Williams just got released by the Chargers, and he played for Anthony Lynn, and he's an enormous target. He's had a lot of injuries, too. I don't know what the number's going to be on him, but I bet if there's a deal to be had, they're going to look at him. Otherwise, like, I've been waiting for we're going to go get the deal that's Hollywood Brown or somebody who's got a name but isn't that anymore, isn't perceived as a number one, will fit in with Terry and Jahan. But if they go get Mike Williams, they're going to be signaling to you, we actually think we need to upgrade that too. We know we need an upgrade at quarterback. We know we need an upgrade at tight end. I think they did a bridge thing with Zach Ertz, but we know we need that. We felt like we needed to upgrade the running back room and went and got a pro who's done this at a very high level. Defensive end they just had nobody anymore because of decisions that were made. So that just had to be filled in. We knew this. Their linebacking core wasn't good enough. We're going to spend real money there. We don't value Cam Curl the way all of you have valued him for the last year plus. We're not going to give him the number he wants. If he gives us the number we want, we'd love to have him back, but we don't value him like that. And at corner, that's the other one I'll get to. I'm pretty convinced now that that's going to be the big swing and it's going to be a trade. That's what I think is going to happen at corner because they haven't done anything yet. And there's guys that are sitting out there. It hasn't made any sense that they haven't gone and grabbed one of these guys that are a pro. I have a feeling something's in the works somewhere along the way here to get a young corner here that's going to be a tier 1 player. And I got a name that I'll throw out in a minute. But the point is this, like what they have exhibited here for the first couple of days, and they've done it very quietly, but actions speak louder than words, is this roster needed an overhaul.
Yeah.
Complete overhaul. Yeah. And, the one gift that Ron did for them, and I made fun of this, and I said this is the wrong thing to do going into the season, was he had 8 million people on expiring contracts. And I went, that's bad. That's a tinderbox. You can't do that in the locker room. Now everybody's playing for money. Everybody's playing for their future. Now, and if things don't go very well, they stop listening to the coaches. Look what happened. Like all these things go wrong. Well, it ends up being a gift for Peters because not only does he have cap space, complete roster flexibility. Who comes into a team typically that's 4-13 and isn't stuck with things?
Yep.
What's he stuck with here?
No, there's nothing.
Nothing. He's not stuck with anything unless you think John you're being stuck with, which I don't. I don't
think you are. No.
There's not a terrible contract here right now. Not one. So he walked into this and he goes, blank slate. And he clearly, in this front office, do not value the players that were here at all.
Yep.
And maybe some of that was, listen, it's a new era. We need to get a lot of new blood in here. And some of it may be, I know you guys love some of these backups, but we don't love them as much as the pros we're going to bring in at the right price. And we just need a higher level of player across the board, and they're doing it. Now, that said, I don't see many impact players out of all of this.
Right.
I think the roster is better. I think there is some, if Jeremy Chin turns his, gets his game back to what he was 2 years ago as opposed to the last 2 years, hit for 1 year, and then we'll make a decision about him. If Austin Eckler isn't out of gas and is the guy he was 2 years ago, hit. Our running back room is way better than it was. If this guy, Nick Allegretti, is really primed to be a starter and really should have been in Kansas City, there's no room for him, hit. But maybe he's not. He wasn't a starter for a reason. So these are the risks that they're taking. All the other things, Frankie Louvu makes them better. Is he a top 5 linebacker? I don't know. Dorrance Armstrong was a need and a very good player. Is he a top 5 rush end? He isn't. On the other side of it, Fowler is a disruptive player. Farrell is a great backup, but that's what he's become, a backup. All these other moves that they've done, some of the filling in the blanks, like the special team stuff. Mariota doesn't make them better at the quarterback position. He gives them stability and a veteran backup, but he's not one you want playing 15, 16 games. You won't have a passing game if that's the case. So in totality, I love what they've done. They haven't done anything stupid. Not a single thing that I look at and go, that was a really crazy thing to do. They took no swing yet, but they have flexibility to do it, which means something's happening at either tackle, corner, or both, where the swing is going to occur because they've got the money to do it. So that's where I expect it to happen. And I think they surmise. I'm a little surprised at corner because at corner, there are viable people to go get on the free agent market. Stephon Gilmore, they know him. He's older now, but they know him. Xavier Howard, if you really want to spend money, is a really good corner if you really want to spend a lot of money. They're both available right now. You could bring Kendall back. I think, it's very telling that they don't want to, and I think I know why. I think it's worried about his injuries that he's gotten through. I don't think it has anything to do with his play. I think it has everything to do with the injuries that he's exhibited the last few years and played through, to his credit, played through. But do you want to give a commitment to somebody at 29 who's dealing with knee injuries? Probably not. You'd probably rather go a different direction. Tackle, which they have to address, I think they've come down to the same thing that I came down to, which was, are we going to overpay one of these guys that are just average?
That's right.
And they've shown no desire to do that.
Right.
So there's either a trade coming, which is very unlikely at the left.
Position,
extremely unlikely.
No one's doing that.
No one does that. We did it with Trent because we had no choice.
Yep.
Like it has to be a no choice. Like the guy's just going, I'm not playing for you. And we all know what the reasons were for that. That was an unusual circumstance. People don't let left tackles go. So I have a feeling that's going to be the position that we're going to have to live with a couple of probably older but been around veteran left tackles. Hopefully they got enough left in the tank to get through a season, and we need to draft one of them, and that person needs to play behind this. Like this is why I think if Tyron Smith can still play, and if he's willing to take a 1 or 2 year deal at not a ton of money, then I think we might be left with that has to happen because they've got to get somebody, and they clearly, and I don't think anybody in the market does, Jonah Williams hadn't gotten a deal yet. He's a left tackle who's available.
Right.
Nobody wants to pay the price because he's not of that tier. So you go give him 20 to 25 million. They don't want to do this. And I think they're doing this wisely. And until they get out there, like this is one of those things where you could say you're going to do things. Until you do it, we don't know how you operate.
That's right.
They've been aggressive, patient, and disciplined through all of this. They're getting people they need. They're upgrading their roster. They're getting the depth back to where it needs to be.
Right. That's the key.
And they are not paying a heavy price for anybody.
Yep.
Yet.
It's also the term as well. They haven't given anything more out than a 3-year
deal.
deal.
They can get out of all of it.
Yeah. And
all of it.
All that's setting you up for, honestly, is that's 3 draft classes away, essentially. And that's really what you can tell that's what they're doing. These are all bridging so they can finally get their draft picks in here for the next 2 years.
I know everybody's very excited because we've gotten a lot of players, and some of them are names. Like Dante Fowler's a name. Jeremy Chin's a name. Austin Eckler's a name. Like I realize that's very exciting. I think there should be some limited expectations, especially at each of their stages of their career. And the numbers they got ought to be very telling to you. Like they've got a lot to prove. Austin Eckler got a $4 million a year contract. Like that is a third of what Saquon got. He has scored more touchdowns than Saquon. I'm not pretending he's better than him, but he's scored more touchdowns than him over the last few years. Why did he get this? because the market dictated they're not sure he's got anything left in the tank. We're going to find out. They're going to find out, but it's worth the risk. If he doesn't, he's gone next year, and it doesn't hurt their cap. If he does, and he scores 10 to 12 touchdowns, because that's what he normally does, what a bargain we got out of this guy. What a bargain they got out of him.
I will give Al Galdi, our friend, credit for this one, and he said it's been 20 years since they've had a class like this. And if you remember the 2004 class, they weren't good in 2004, but he set the foundation for 2005. That was the offseason, and you covered them. They signed Cornelius Griffin, Phillip Daniels, Marcus Washington, Sean Springs. Not all of them were these big money signings, but they were all new starters slotted right into starting roles. And after a year,
Cornelius Griffin was a deal. He was great.
Yeah, he was awesome.
He was awesome.
And I thought Galdi made a great comparison there. There were some names there that weren't premier names, but all they needed were solid guys. So then when the stars were finally drafted for them, like the Sean Taylors of the world that were inserted on that defense, all of a sudden it was this transformational thing, which, once again, didn't happen in 2004, but it happened the following year in 2005 when they won their playoff game, their last playoff win, by the way. But I thought that was a great comparison there, because that's all you need right now with a new regime is a solid set of starters and guys that will provide depth for when you draft guys, too. There's also going to be competition at all these positions. I think that was something that, was lacking in Ron's era, too. A lot of times they were drafting for need, and the guy was just slotted right in. Like, there's something to be said about competition sometimes, too, when it comes to training camp, instead of just rolling with your roster. So all around is just going to be a better vibe, I think.
I love the discipline that is being exemplified right now. And I will reiterate, I'm excited that they're getting this class. I think the roster is getting better. They're putting starters out there. Yeah. I don't think, though, even with all of this, that they are demonstrably better or have brought in any real difference-making type talent. Sure. And I'm trying to not be, but I think they know that, which is why the numbers are what the numbers are. They're taking a couple of shots on a couple of guys, but it's short-term, not big money. Right. Hopefully we get lucky with you. If Jeremy Chin ends up having another injury-riddled season, he won't be here next year. It costs them nothing. Right. If Nick Allegretti doesn't turn out that he's a starting left guard, they have a viable backup at a low number, or they move on from him. If he turns out to be a starter and a good one, they got the bargain of bargains on him. If Austin Eckler turns out to be the guy he was 2 years ago, they got an unbelievable bargain on him. And if he doesn't, and if it's past his prime and it's over, they can get out of it and have almost no dead money on it the following year. I love the discipline that's being shown here, but it also does really showcase, and this to me too, and I guess I needed the wake-up call. Our roster wasn't good.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't.
That was
it wasn't good enough. We have some very good players. We do. I think John and John can be elite players. They're really good. I think Terry's a number one. I'm not kidding myself that he's Devontae Adams. He's not. But I do believe he's a number one receiver and wasn't utilized right last year. Yeah. I think Jahan was not utilized. I saw what he can do in his rookie year. Put in the right position, I think he can go gangbusters. Incredible hands, incredible route runner, reliable at times. Yeah. I think he was misutilized so much he started dropping passes at the end of the year. He was absent from the offense. That's not going to happen again with him, especially with Kurt gone. That's not going to happen again this year. I'll be interested to hear how they talk about B-Rob at this point, because they brought in Eckler, which everyone will go, well, he'll be the starter. I don't know about that. He might be the secondary back.
You don't know that.
He might be the secondary back behind B-Rob, but at the same thing, it's a new offense again. Does B-Rob fit? And we'll have to see how that goes. I assume that he does, and I love him between the tackles, and I hope that they go that way. But outside of that, again, it's not like we didn't know they were weak at certain spots. Linebacker, but they got exposed at some other spots. The corner spot ended up being pretty weak, partially because Forbes was not what they were looking for out of a first-round pick, at least in his rookie year. I'm holding out hope with the new defense that things are going to change for him. The defensive line behind, those guys didn't get any. But remember that whole story a couple of years ago where those guys got hurt and nothing went wrong.
Yeah, right.
Guess what happened when things were going wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
It got worse.
Yep.
It didn't get better with Montez Sweat out of the room. The offensive line we know was malpractice with the last front office and how they handled it through the years. They let really good players go, and replace them with bargain basement and most of the time over-the-hill players in the case of like Norwell and Turner. And then they went and tried to do a Band-Aid again with Gates and Wiley, and that didn't work out.
Correct.
Albeit, though, I think Wiley's going to be on this team, and at this juncture is still the starter at right tackle now.
That's what I was yelling and screaming about, is that Ron seemingly never did these middle deals that they're doing. It was always like William Jackson they signed was the biggest money deal.
That was the big one. And Wentz.
And
they traded for Wentz.
Sure, they traded for him, though, and that was quarterback. Like, they had to address that. But with Jackson, it was almost like when they got Jackson wrong, they decided, oh, maybe we're not going to do that anymore. And that was the worst swing. That was the worst thing they could have done. They could have done some of these middle deals because it would have upheld the roster a little bit, and that's why we're seeing all of these. And same thing to your point as well. I'm seeing not a lot of the fan base, but some of the fan base going, oh, where's the home run? And it's like, dude, you got to hit some singles, to fill out the roster.
To the people who would say, where's the home run? This is what I talked about going into it. Like, the positions that they need, right, that they could have the money to spend for, there aren't home run signings available to them.
Yeah, right.
There is no left tackle to go give $30 million a year to. Yep. That person doesn't exist. So this is why I wanted to see, would they display discipline? They know they need a left tackle, but they're unwilling to go and overpay for somebody just to bring him in. I love that discipline. The problem is they still do need this, which means they've got to do something. And right now, I believe they'll draft one, whether it's high in the second round or my idea, package those 2 picks and move up and go get one because it's a very heavy first round. There's going to be a lot of tackles. And consider this part too. Like, all quarterbacks are going to go very early. Marvin Harrison's going to go very early. A couple other receivers are going to go very early. Mm-hmm. The tackles actually aren't going to start falling off the board until the lower part of the top 10, which means you could get up into the early teens or mid-teens and probably get a really good one. And that's unusual, that you land what could be a top-tier left tackle. That's why I think right now, don't overpay. Take a swing in the draft at a tackle, whether you're stuck with the Bears pick, the second pick you got from them, or your pick, or my goal of package these two together, get up into the teens, take your left tackle there. But at the same time, I think they need to sign one of these veterans, whether it's Tyron Smith or somebody, just to get through the year with a veteran out there, and because you may not land this in the draft.
That's right.
So I think they have to get a tackle. I'll talk about corner next, because I think that's the one where I think we actually might hit the home run. Bram Weinstein Show, ESPN 630, Sports Capital. All right, let's continue talking about the Commanders here a little bit. There's still a few things they need to do. Tells you what kind of business they had to do. They have not taken a big swing with any big money yet. They have to get a tackle. In free agency, there is not one, in my opinion, that warrants spending a tremendous amount of money on. I think the market has proved that out too. Nobody has. So they're going to do something. I am now more open to what's Tyron Smith got left in the tank and what's he willing to do if he's willing to come here and potentially get a year out of him as a either primary starter or backup tackle while we potentially draft somebody.
Yep.
So, and trading for tackles is very difficult to do, typically. A top-tier one for sure. It's very rare. So I think they're going to have to, this is one of those they're going to have to figure out, whether it's through the draft, a couple veterans to get them through the season, hopefully draft the next left tackle for them. He either plays or he sits behind a veteran like that for a year, whatever. The other thing they haven't done yet that I think is potentially money is corner. And, you know, Dan Quinn and Joe Witt have had this almost magical run of corners that end up having career years with them. It happened for two Dallas players over the last couple of years. Deron Bland broke the record for pick sixes in a single season last year. And the year before, Trayvon Diggs had the most interceptions in a single season in Cowboys history. He also got hurt last year. And then Bland basically filled in for him and was outstanding as a cover corner for them. This is why I think like Jordan Lewis is a name to watch here, because he could be a slot corner for them. Maybe signing Jeremy Chin makes them think Quan Martin could be a slot corner for them. I don't totally know. We're unsure about all that. Once all this shakes out, we get to talk to the coaches and find out. But corner, and on Kendall Fuller, I'll reiterate, I think the injuries and his age are a little prohibitive, and I bet his number's pretty high. So I think if they're going to spend, like take a swing on somebody, I think they're going to try to go younger. So the guy I'm watching here is Greg Newsome from Cleveland. You know, they paid Denzel Ward. So can they pay two corners? Probably not. They've paid Myles Garrett. They've paid Deshaun. They've paid a lot of money. There's a lot of money out there, and he seems to be a potential trade target. He's only like 24, 25 years old. I believe he is a potential top-tier target. You are going to have to pay him a pretty penny, but you get a guy who's at 24, 25, not Fuller at 29, 30, or, I've advocated you could go for Stephon Gilmore, but just on a 1 or 2 year deal because of his age.
Yep.
What are you going to pay him? That would be a get through. So I think if the swing is coming, it's there at that position, corner. So is there a trade to be had for someone like Newsome? Young, up and coming, they feel confident that they can work with professional corners and have them have career years. They've become turnover machines for them. That's what I'm watching here.
Yeah.
So I still think that there's a swing that may happen. That's the position I think that they would target to get a swing. Try to go get what they hope will be a premier corner, and that's the player I'm following, Greg Newsome from Cleveland.
Right. Okay. I mean, it would make sense because cornerback seemingly in flux in and out of rosters, and not to mention that team has to pay a lot of people as well. So, I mean, that's where
they're in trouble.
Out.
They have guaranteed money for their quarterback. He's not going to restructure it.
Yep. Right.
So you are stuck with that. Nick Chubb makes a lot of money. Amari Cooper makes a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Myles Garrett makes a ton of money. So Denzel Ward does. They're out of flexibility here. They have a very good team, but they're out of flexibility here. That's why I think Newsome's available, especially for a relatively high pick. We got 2 high second-round picks. So I've been advocating package the 2, move up in the first round and get a tackle, or you want to trade one? You want to flip one of those 2 for Greg Newsome?
Right.
Let's go.
Fine with me. Yeah. Absolutely.
Let's go. So I think the swing big money deal, that's where it's going to happen.
Got it.
Tackle, I think they would if the right person was available. He's not. So they're going to have to figure that one out. And tackle's going to be a position that probably will be addressed in the draft, addressed with older veterans at a cheap rate for a year or 2, like they've done with these other deals. And then that one might get kicked down the road because I think we're learning here too. They can't do everything.
Right. Exactly.
They don't have the resources. And there's not I think they've done a lot in a very short period of time, but there's clearly a long way to go. Can't fill everything.
Yep.
All right. Last thing real quickly. Mike Williams is available.
Yes. Yep.
Chargers receiver. They're up against the cap. They've had no choice. They've tried to trade people. Nobody's budging.
$32 million over.
I did see Khalil Mack is restructuring to stay.
Yep.
There's some concern not concern. Joey Bosa might be available because he's also had a lot of injuries. I'd stay away. Like if they're not going to I wouldn't take a swing on him. I think it's too much money. He's missed too many games.
Too much of a risk. Yep.
Too much of a risk. Mack staying. It means probably Keenan Allen is staying because they cut Mike Williams.
It's going to be one of the other.
Anthony Lynn was in L.A. with the Chargers for a few years. They already signed Eckler. We don't have a big target like that. He's a huge target. He's had some injuries too last couple of years. I'll say this about him. I'd want to know the number.
Yep.
I think it's too high, but I'd want to know the number because that's another spot. We do need a third receiver.
Yep.
And so let's see if they take a swing for him. We'll see.
Yep.
All right, we'll take a quick break. Bram Weinstein Show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital. It's soccer season in and around the area. DC United has kicked off. Spirit are going to kick off very soon. And one of our new partners here at ESPN 630, Loudon United FC, is going to kick off this weekend as well, as we welcome in their new director of soccer, Oliver Gage, as they get set for their first match this weekend in Leesburg. Hey, Oliver, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Great. Tell me about the position here that you've taken on. What do you see in Loudon United that brought you here?
Yeah, obviously it's a very exciting time for the club under new ownership, under the Baronis. So I think for the first time the club is going to operate a bit more independently from DC United and look a little bit less like a DC United reserve team and a bit more like an independent USL Championship team, which I think is going to be really important for the growth of not just the club and success on the field, but soccer in the area. So, one of the things that really attracted me to the position and to the opportunity here was exactly what we have here in the Washington DC/DMV area, which is, in my mind, probably one of the best soccer markets, if not the best soccer market in the whole country. I mean, you have a number of powerhouse Division I colleges. You have some huge, really good youth clubs that are developing great talent. You have an MLS team, an NWSL team, and you have a USL Championship team. And I don't think there's any other city in the whole of the US that can boast that. So for me, it was a really good opportunity to build something quite special.
Let me go back to something you said about more of an independent team and not directly connected in the growth of DC United. Why is that important to separate themselves that way?
Well, I don't think separation is necessary. So I don't want to
Right.
come across like we had to get away from DC, because the reality is that Jason and the DC guys still own a good portion of Loudon United. So I think more it's going to look like DC United are partners and beneficial partners to both sides of it, versus Loudon was exactly what DC needed it to be over the last few years, which was essentially like a reserve team or a glorified youth team. So if you look at the MLS Next program, and basically every other team in MLS, they have an MLS Next team, which is usually kind of made up of 16 to 23-year-olds, and it is exactly that, a development team. DC haven't had that, so Loudon has been that. But unfortunately for Loudon United, they've been competing in a league full of men's teams that are independent USL teams trying to win the USL every year. So I think on the pitch, Loudon, in terms of results, certainly Loudon have kind of suffered because of that. Whereas now I think when we get this thing right on the field over a number of years, I think what will happen is it will be very complementary. I think we'll get some strategic benefits of being partners with DC. And I think what they'll get in return is a better kind of top end of the pyramid in terms of development ready for MLS. So instead of, their best young academy prospects playing in MLS Next against 16 and 17-year-olds, they're going to be able to play real senior men's first team games against 28, 29-year-olds that have been around the block a little bit. So I think when you look at that prospect, it's kind of an environment that nobody else in the whole of MLS or the whole of the US can compete with.
When you say when we get this right on the field, what do you mean by that? Like, what does that look like to you?
So it's not to say we've been getting it wrong so far. I mean, when we've built what we want to build, in 2, 3, 5 years, whatever it is, I think we'll be able to offer something that nobody else in the USL and potentially the MLS can, which is exactly what I said. It's using the fact that, we have the ability to compete in the USL against MLS Next to an advantage. So, almost every MLS coach I've ever spoken to, knows that the way it goes so far in terms of ideal preparation for MLS play is, youth academy to MLS Next to USL Championship and then to MLS. And MLS clubs at the moment, they don't have that USL Championship piece. Everyone has clubs that they're on good terms with or, are friendly with coaches, but they don't have a true strategic partnership. But we can have exactly that. And even geographically, I think we've got an advantage over everybody else.
Yeah.
We train literally, 500 yards from DC United, and we're in the same building as them a lot of times. And our stadium is whatever it is, 10 miles away from their stadium. I don't think there's any other USL club or MLS club that has that environment across the whole US.
Okay, so tell me what fans can expect if they come out to a match this year.
I think they're going to. I think they can expect a much more competitive team. So we kicked off the season away in San Antonio this weekend. We drew 2-2 after a red card pretty early in the game to us. And up until that moment, San Antonio had one shot and we'd had 6 or 7. And we were by far the better team. And, traditionally San Antonio have been one of the best teams in the league, and I think they will be again this year. I think Loudon will take more points than we've ever taken before from a season. And, as if you ask me right now, will Loudon United be playing playoff soccer at the end of the season for the first time in their history? I think I would say yes. We're by no means the finished article. We're in year 1-ish of a 5-year plan and a rebuild under new ownership. But it's certainly the strongest team certainly a lot stronger than the team that I was watching on video from last year prior to taking the job. And, everyone speaking to everybody here, it's the strongest team that Loudon United have ever had. So I think first and foremost, you're going to see a much improved team on the pitch winning some more games. I think the soccer is going to be fun. And then the business side do a great job. There's like a kid zone at the stadium. The concessions are good. I think it's a good game day environment. And I've never been to a Loudon United a Loudon United home game yet, and I'm really excited to experience it. But everything I've heard says it's going to be a really good day out for the family.
Loudon United FC kicks off their home opener Saturday, March 16th. They're taking on North Carolina FC. 3:45 kickoff at Segra Field. Gates will open at 2:45 for a pregame experience, which includes 30% off beverages until 3:45, alongside music, face painting, games, and much more. Tickets on sale now at loudonunitedfc.com. That's loudonunitedfc.com. The new director of soccer is Oliver Gage. Thanks for coming on, Oliver. Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, so that's Oliver Gage. All right, let's get back into what happened last night. Sucker, you took the Wizards, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I told you, man. They still stink.
I had two.
You know, well, whatever. I don't bet on sports these days, so, you know, it doesn't matter to me.
I'm
a casual observer of what you do, actually, now.
2 waffles last night. I initially was not going to go against my moneyline Wizards play, but the other one was Kuzma. His line was set at 24.5. I thought they're going to have a downturn. I'm going to take the under here. Then I looked at his games leading up to it. He scored 32, 27, and I think 28 leading into this game. He scores 24 last night, and I took the over. I was going to do the under.
They won a couple of games, but you can't be fooled by the fact that they're not good.
No, of course.
They're not
Neither
good.
are the Grizzlies, though.
I hear you. But, like, a really bad team on the road is typically a bad play just in general. Not that I'm trying to needle you to death, but, like, when you said that yesterday, I'm like, some people like money line Wizards tonight. I'm like, oh, man. That bubble's going to burst soon on you.
You don't think I'm going to go back to the well tomorrow night?
Who they got tomorrow night?
Yeah,
Rockets?
Houston.
At?
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
Why not?
I'm not doing that. No, Houston's won 28 games, actually, this year. They're actually, like, they're a little under 500, like 28 and 35.
I'm trying to find the quotes. I think, like, Kuzma and them were calling this, like, really embarrassing last night.
Yeah, they said
they even admitted, they're like, we know we're not playing well, but this was terrible.
The quote was, we disrespected the game.
Oh.
That's what they said. So, they were not happy about it last night. At least they're taking some accountability. That's a new one. That's a new one for them.
All right. They're off tonight. They go tomorrow night. All right, let me talk about Chase Young for a minute, because I kind of didn't talk about him yesterday, albeit that the news came out that he's taking visits. I think it was New Orleans, Carolina, and Tennessee were the ones that are being reported of where he's going to go to. That means that they want to meet him in person,
right, and
probably do a physical.
Correct.
Which is why he's not getting the legal tampering 1201, here's the contract.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, for every, like, I don't know. I feel like it needs to be said over and over. The reason why the Commanders, you know, were never really going to give him a long-term deal was, unfortunately, his medical history and his knee.
Yep.
And he went to San Francisco, and he had a couple of moments, and then he had a couple of viral moments that didn't look particularly great.
That's right. Yep.
We here over 3.5 years got used to some of that, where you'd see some of these wow things, and then a few of those, well, I guess he wasn't bringing it on that play.
That's right, yeah.
Type of stuff. We went through a couple of years of Ron's code words like maturity and things like that, which we know was what it was about. And then the passive-aggressive, is he going to show up in the spring? Is he not going to show up in the spring?
Sure.
I even went down the road of, I think you should, Chase, because you're supposed to be a leader on the team. So whether you want to be here or not, you kind of need to show your face a little bit. Don't you want to be the face of the franchise? Like, because we're trying to anoint you that. And, you know, now it just comes down to, because he's an elite athlete, and he's a good guy. He's not a bad guy. He's a good guy.
Yep.
Like, it comes down to, does anyone trust he can play?
Right.
And, you know, I think this is why he's taking visits and not just getting contracts thrown at him. They need to talk to him, and I think they need to see his knee.
That's right.
And they need to do physicals on him, and I guess he has to comply with that. And then I think it'll be very telling to see what somebody gives him. Their doctors are either going to full go clear him, which I don't know whether that's going to happen or not. And then, or if he gets what I think is going to end up happening, it's going to be up to him whether he wants this. Probably a low base number with a ton of incentives attached to it. One, to motivate him to play and not have those viral moments where he's not chasing people that scores touchdowns, but also to find out, can he physically stand up to all of this? So I think that's where Chase is, and I don't think anybody should be surprised. I think I just want to, like, in defense of him, honestly.
Yeah,
really, this partially Not just because I'm trying to be like, this is how it was, I told you. I think it's more, I'm actually trying to be in defense of him. Why he hasn't received a deal at all, let alone a big one, because you just assume he's Chase Young, former number 2 overall pick, could be a monster on the field. It's because of his medicals, and the teams are scared. And he got traded to San Francisco, and he was okay. He was here. He was okay. To the point where there was reports he was going to start in Super Bowl and stuff like that, because probably some of the viral stuff that happened. So, I wish him luck. I hope he gets his career going again. I'm a little concerned, long-term, medically with him, just because I know what he went through with that knee. So I hope that he can get his career going again, but I would just put it this way. I'm not surprised that he has to, quote unquote, take visits to talk to teams because they want to meet him. They want to talk to him. And more importantly, they want to put him in an MRI machine and find out where he is physically. And it'll be very telling what his contract looks like next year. I bet it's short term, and I bet it's low base with a lot of incentives.
It's two things that you don't want to have paired together. Somebody that's possibly injury prone or have long-term, health issues and has shown questionable effort. Because we've long seen in the NFL, if you have those injury issues, but you have a high motor and you are not having those moments that he had, essentially, people will take a shot on you. But it's because it's both of those things, everyone's going to be apprehensive
it's all
in
of
whatever is next deal. Yeah. But
yes, Jadeveon Clowney, same thing. He hasn't gotten a deal yet.
Yeah.
He was actually very good for the Ravens last year.
Right.
I would actually argue to the Ravens, they should just bring him back.
Correct. And that's what I'm saying. Jadeveon doesn't have the effort problem. Everyone knows he's a physical.
Well, I think he did in the past.
Correct. But everyone kind of knows what you're getting out of him now. And he doesn't have those injury problems. Like I said, it has to be one or the other, not both. And Chase has both of those on his head right now. And he's got to shake one or both of them to get another deal from somebody. Like he's actually he's playing for 2 deals on whatever his next deal is. I mean, that's really the reality of the situation.
Congratulations, Sadiq Charles signed with Tennessee.
Yeah,
so former Commander signed their 1-year deal for him. And then I saw something pop up this morning that Cam Curl signed with the Seahawks.
Yeah, it's not.
And then nobody's verified it. None of the major reporters have said that's the case. So he still hangs out there. So does Justin Simmons, too. A lot of these safeties that got cut. Xavier McKinney was plucked very quickly. We haven't seen many of the top-tier safeties go yet, so it does feel like that market is – McKinney got a good deal. Let's see what I'm dying to see what he gets. Now that we re-signed Jeremy and brought in Jeremy Chin and re-signed Reaves, I assume that Curl's not coming back here now. And I loved having him here. I'm sure it was all about what his expectations on money were, and that's probably where they drew a line here because they talked to his people, so – I know nobody was against bringing him back. I just think you've seen the discipline they're showing with re-signing guys. They weren't going to spend for him. That's my gut is he asked for a big number. They weren't going to do it. And so he's out there finding out what free agency looks like for him.
It screams they're going to probably, if they still think they need someone, they're just going to bring whoever is left on the market in for training camp or something like that. I mean, there's going to be enough of them to go around. I do
think you're going to have to get one more person because Jeremy Chin has had a lot of injuries.
Sure.
And that's why he only got a 1-year deal.
Right.
And so if he plays like he did a couple of years ago, great.
Yep.
And if he doesn't, because he's had a lot of injuries, you need to have somebody there. So there's probably another veterans coming there. All right, I'll be right back. Bram Show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital. Ooh, I don't like this news from WTOP. The National Park Service says it's going to cut down 140 of D.C.'s iconic cherry trees for a 3-year rehab project around the tidal basin.
I'll talk off the ledge here because I did some research on this earlier today.
I don't like hearing that. This is a D.C. thing.
No, for sure,
This is
for
our
sure.
thing, especially around the tidal basin.
Right. Let me talk off the ledge here. So they're going to cut 300 of them down. They're going to replace, I think they said the number is 273. So we're going to shortchange them by 17 trees for whatever the new walkways are. What people
are these young? There's going to be young trees
correct.
that are going to take a while to grow.
They're not though. Do you know the lifestyle of a cherry blossom tree?
I do not.
Okay, they're like between 20 and 25 years. So these guys, way beyond what we ever thought they should be.
Oh, so they were timed to. You think it's time for them to go?
No, they are. No, it actually is time. Like that's why you have like the meme tree called Stumpy. Like you know that, right? That there's one tree that's just like torn up because it's so old and it's falling apart. This is like basically them saying, we're going to use this opportunity to build up the wall because that's what's really happening here too. The tidal basin wall is falling apart, and that is also contributing to the trees also not being in good shape. So this is a good thing. It's going to just take like a 3-year hit though. I don't think they're going to have it all done to do the Cherry Blossom Festival or whatever the hell you want to call it now, but this is good in the long run.
I almost had my MAGA cherry tree moment where I was going to scream and yell without having any context whatsoever. You're ruining D.C. It's the worst. How do you cut down the cherry trees? The cherry trees are the best part of D.C.
For the next question that comes
It's Biden's fault.
For the next question that comes out either from you or from a listener, they said they're so old that if they were to try to
How old are they?
Yeah, right. If they were to try to move them, they wouldn't survive the move. That's how old and frail they are.
Wow.
So,
okay.
So I'm just saying, this is a good thing. They're going to get new ones, guys. They're plants.
I was just making sure we're getting
new ones back. Yes, and just remember, they're plants. We can replant them. We can get new ones. They're renewable.
Paul, I'm going to poison the cherry trees, Paul.
That's right.
All them libs up there in D.C. I'm going to poison them cherry trees, Paul.
And it was like, can we propagate them? And they're like, they're so old. If you cut a branch off, you're going to kill both of them. So it's okay. I'm just talking you off the ledge here. It's going to be a good thing.
Okay.
It's going to be a much better setup.
Feel better about it now.
Yeah.
See, context matters.
For sure.
I was just about to go scream and yell with knowing nothing. Read one headline. You're taking down the cherry trees. Who's going to jail for this?
Bram, one thing you know, this city loves money.
Yeah.
They're not going to just get rid of that money source. So
yeah, a lot of people show up to go look at those trees.
Correct. Say that
it's like Vermont with the leaves.
Say
They're
that
like,
out loud
the leaves
again.
are going to fall every year, guys.
Say that out loud again.
Yeah.
People show up to look at trees. That's easy money. So they're not going to let that. They're not going to let that go away.
You want to see the trees?
Yeah, right.
Come on down.
Come see the trees.
It is pretty. Come see the trees.
For sure. No, I don't disagree. I've
had a lot of friends who have shown up through the years because they wanted to see the trees.
And by the way, like that's something to me at least. It seems like that.
They don't want to see the boundary stones. Nobody has ever said that to me, ever. I want to come see the boundary stones. Yeah, I bet you do.
Shots fired.
Yeah.
But also, would you agree with me that that's something that really hasn't taken on in like until like the last 20 years, right? Like become a big deal. Like I know people liked it and all, but I feel like it's really only taken on in the last 2 decades. Like that has been a huge, like kind of social event, social media thing too helps obviously. But I feel like it wasn't a thing when I was a little kid, though, is what I'm getting at.
Let me run this one by you. I ran this one by my wife.
Oh, okay.
Because she poo-pooed it and told me I was dumb. So Philly's got cheesesteaks.
Yes.
Maryland's got crab cakes.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
And, in cities, New York's got pizza, maybe a couple other things, but they're known for it. Chicago's got pizza, different kind of pizza. Yeah. Texas got barbecue.
Yeah.
We don't have a food, do we?
It's mambo sauce. I mean.
Yeah, but that's not like. It's just a sauce.
It is,
like,
though. It is, though. I'm telling you. You don't have to like it, but it is.
But there's no mumbo sauce shop. Like,
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Like
right,
if you can't watch a Sixers or an Eagles game without them showing you Pat and Jim's.
That's
right.
Right.
You can't watch. Yeah. Geno's. Yeah. Or Jim. Well, Jim's the best.
Oh yeah.
Jim's is better than Pat and Geno's are next to each other.
You're right. Yes.
Jim's is better than both.
Jim's roast pork. Right?
Don't at me. Yeah,
right.
well, all you people in Philly know I'm right about that part.
Right.
And they'll probably tell me, well, there's this place you don't know
roast
about.
Pork.
Right?
John's roast pork.
John's roast pork
is the other good one.
Pat and Geno's are the two that are in the premier spot near the stadium.
They're the tourist ones.
And they're very picturesque.
Yeah.
They're like the trees. Yeah. They're very picture. And they show them and they're open to all the media and all that stuff. Right. Even I did one for ESPN from Pat's and Geno's once. I had to do a bit from there once.
Sure, that was fun.
I loved it.
Yeah, okay.
You got a free cheesesteak out of it.
No, all right.
Spend the day shooting with the guy who cooks the cheesesteaks at Pat's.
Was he rude to you? Because it's
not
like the bit?
Oh, okay. No, not to me.
Okay.
Everybody else.
Okay.
Gotta be nice to me.
What do you want?
Anyway, so this is my point about DC. We don't have food, right? I think we need to lean into this half smoke thing a little bit.
Okay.
Like we have a famous place.
Well,
right?
I feel like half smokes are our thing. It's just not it doesn't get as much run as the other ones.
But there's not other places that people know about that could be like the calling card of when I go to DC, like a cheesesteak, I kind of got to get one of those somewhere.
Right.
And locally, everybody knows what Ben's Chili Bowl is. I think nationally, a little bit, right? A little bit. And sometimes now, I think you're starting to see some people start showing it. But I still think at this point, they show crabs and things like that. I think that there is a marketing play for DC as the home of great half smokes, anchored by Ben's Chili Bowl, but they need competition, like Pat's and Geno's and Jim's and all those places. A couple spots where it becomes a thing. See, like you're at least semi-listening to this. I told my wife this, and she said, you're stupid. And I'm like, it's not. She's like, people don't like half smokes that much. And I go, that's not what it's about. This is a marketing. It's a marketing play of DC when you go there. And millions of people come here. You got to get one of those because they make them really, really, really well there.
Mm-hmm.
But Ben's Chili Bowl needs to have competition to do that.
I've told the story, I think, once before, where Ben's Chili Bowl also has a little bit of a marketing problem. One, no one goes there sober. That if you're from here, like that's always a late night spot. You don't like out of your way go to Ben's Chili Bowl like to have lunch.
But
right?
it's got the full on
but
DC
also,
experience thing. If you did a trip guide thing, it'll be mentioned.
Of course,
like you should go to Ben's Chili Bowl. It's historic.
But the problem with Ben's too is if you don't actually do the research enough, like my brother-in-law, because there's a Ben's Chili Bowl at Nats Park, right? He went. He goes, I'm going to go get Ben's Chili Bowl. I was like, oh, great. That's like the same. It tastes the same at Nats Park as it does from the restaurant. It'll save you a trip. But he just got a bowl of chili because he didn't know, like, what you do is you get the half smoke, and that's really what you're supposed to get. So I think it's a marketing thing, too. People look at it and go, well, why am I coming to D.C. to get a chili?
Correct.
To get chili.
No.
When you and I know you get the half smoke.
Anybody who's listening that thinks that's a good idea, I'd like to partner with you on it because I actually think it's not necessarily just a restaurant play. It's a marketing play.
Yeah.
And here's the part I would tell you about it because of having been in sports media and knowing the eye candy that they show with games. You go to the ESPNs and the Amazons and the CBS and the Foxes of the world, and you invite them when they're doing a Commanders game to shoot at your restaurant.
Right.
And you start in the same way that everybody knows Philadelphia is a haven for cheesesteaks, or New York is a place for pizza, or if you go to an Orioles game, they will show crab cakes or crabs. Right. They'll always show it. If you started to actually do that, and I can make that part happen, if you started to actually do that, I think it would brand it as when you come to D.C., you have to get one of these things. And I actually think it's brilliant, personally.
The funny part, too, is like one of my favorite parts is there's a Harris Teeter in walking distance of my apartment. And they actually have a great like local section. And the local section, they have, I don't think it's their brand. It's another brand of half smokes.
Yeah.
So you can actually just buy them in the grocery store, and it's next to the Capital City Mumbo sauce, and it's next to all the like the Old Bay items.
This will not take long to come up with a recipe that are good ones.
Sure. Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
Right. And, this is not going against Ben's. I think you work in conjunction with them to make DC the half smoke place.
Lift it all up. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, for sure. No, I see what
all
you're
right.
saying.
So anybody out there that's listening to this.
I'll make the merch for whoever does it.
Good.
Yeah.
There you go. We need all sorts. I want to do this. And my role in this is I know how to do the marketing part of this, and I know how to get the sports networks involved in something like this. Y'all got to help me do the restaurant part because I don't know how to do a restaurant, but I think it's a brilliant idea personally to make DC like a half smoke haven, and people just know it that way.
The other argument I would make with you is, but it's a pure if you know situation, is that there is so much good Ethiopian food around here, and I feel like that would be a great spotlight.
Yeah.
But I also know it just wouldn't take on that type of level. But like everyone that's had it is always like, oh, it's amazing. It's like, yeah, because every place that does it here is legit. So.
I'm gonna talk to my guys in the military bowl and be like, those announcers are gonna eat those half smokes on TV. Right, we're gonna do the day before. They're gonna go bowling because you guys do that, and then I'm gonna take them to the half smokes place, and they're gonna try them, and then they're gonna eat them on TV like the Anish does with the mayo every year.
Well, I was gonna say, you have the military half smoke bowl, and then they have a mascot.
Yes.
That gets put into like on a grill.
We're gonna have all those We're gonna have all those cadets eating half smokes sitting on TV.
Right.
All right. Let's see. You guys are like, stop talking about this. All right. Grades. Let's grade it. We can make deals official now. The tampering period is officially over.
Yes, the league year has officially started as of 13 minutes ago.
So all these deals will become official that we've heard of, we think, unless someone changes their mind, and we'll see. And we'll tell you when all the Commanders ones go through. I haven't heard a thing like that anybody's changed their mind, but it is what it is. CBS went through team by team and gave them grades to this point. And there's still, there's a lot of free agents available, so we're not done yet. But they gave grades. So let's go through them. Arizona, C-. Who have they signed? I can't think of a single. I don't think I've said them.
Yeah, I don't know who they've signed.
And again, like outside of Kyler, who makes money on that team?
Yeah.
So they've taken no swings for anybody. Here's their key additions: Justin Jones, Mac Wilson, Sean Murphy Bunting. How are they demonstrably better?
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Take the bus. They've done nuts. So they've been a no-show in free agency so far.
Right.
Atlanta, Kirk Cousins, Darnell Mooney.
Okay.
They got an A.
Yep.
I agree. How can you not think it's an A?
No, I think that's fine.
Their quarterback situation just went from a D- to a B+, A-, and in that division, A+.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Carolina's stuck with Bryce Young. Is he going to be a lot better with this new coach? Maybe. Who knows? But are they going to be better? Well, they act weird.
Yep.
New Orleans got Carr. That went bust in year one.
Mm-hmm.
And Tampa brought Baker back, and Tampa won the division, and Tampa seems fine.
Yep.
But this is a win.
Yep.
So I agree.
100%.
Ravens, they go A-. Derrick Henry comes in.
Mm-hmm.
They re-signed Matt Abuike. They franchise tagged him and then got a big deal with him. They kept Nelson Aguilar. They lose Gus Edwards, but replaced him with Derrick Henry. John Simpson, Geno Stone, Patrick Queen, and their long snapper who came here, Tyler Ott. They lost 2 starters on defense. They lost their staff, and I know that's not part of the grading part of this thing here, but the defensive staff is all gone. Anthony Weaver left. Mike McDaniel obviously left. They got raided this year.
Offense is what stirs the drink, though.
I guess. There's no way their defense could be as good as it was a year ago.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
there's no way.
I think everyone knows they're going to have a drop-off, though, with not only the staff, but some of the actual defensive players, too. I think everyone is just anticipating that.
Marlon Humphrey's older now. Sure. Kyle Hamilton was a miss for us. We should have taken him. That was a miss.
Yeah, he
was one of those.
Yeah, he's really come on now.
Oh, yeah. Bills, they went C+. They also had cap problems.
Right.
They brought Mitch Trubisky back. And
I didn't even know that.
They signed Nicholas Morrow because they've lost a lot of people. They did re-sign Deion Dawkins, David Edwards, Taylor Rapp, AJ Epinesa, and Daquan Jones, but they lost Gabe Davis, Leonard Floyd, Jordan Poyer, Saran Neal, Deontay Hardy, Mitch Morse, Nyheim Hines, Cam Lewis, and Jordan Poyer. That's a lot of people out the door.
Yeah.
This is a reset for them. But they're one of those teams that they'll consistently reset because they have an A+ quarterback. So they'll do what they have to do.
Yeah.
I thought they might make a decision on Diggs. That's what I thought.
That's what I thought, too. Yeah.
I thought they might just go, you know what? Maybe it's time to reset there on that one.
I think
they don't have a number one if they let him go. That's the problem.
I think at the same time, too, I was thinking about this the other day. Remember you and I were making fun of it, how at what point in the offseason will he post himself in a Commander's uniform? Because it just happens every year. I think the Bills are just like, yeah, Diggs is going to go off, and he just does that. Like, I think they just live with it.
They're used to it.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at here. So I actually was thinking about it and saying, if they don't make a decision, I think it's fine. They're just used to him popping off every once in a while now.
Let's see. Carolina, they gave a C+ because they paid ridiculous amounts of money for 2 guards, Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis. And then they just did trade for Deontay Johnson. He's a good wide receiver, better wide receiver than what they've had.
Sure.
And they brought in Josie Jewell and Ashawn Robinson. But then they traded Brian Burns, who was their best defensive player, lost Frankie Louvu, traded Dante Jackson, and lost Jeremy Chin. So C+ sounds about right.
That's right. Yeah, that's fine.
Because actually on offense, they are better. They got two guards. They need laugh at it all you want. I think they overpaid for them, but they need it for many reasons. Sure. They're not a passing offense. They're going to have to run the ball, and they have a height-challenged quarterback who needs a good pocket. So I understand why they did it. But defensively, they have had a ton of talent just get peeled off of the team, being replaced by who and at what level? Who's as good as Brian Burns that they're going to have?
Right.
Nobody.
C is right, though. I think C is proper.
Okay, yeah. I mean, they
I wouldn't
didn't
go lower. Like, they did add. They lost. C's fine. C's proper.
Bears, C.
Yeah, that's right.
DeAndre Swift they added, Ryan Bates, Kevin Byard, didn't really perform well in Philadelphia. Jonathan Owens, Gerald Everett. Re-signed Jalen Johnson, Patrick Scales. Lost Justin Jones and Darnell Mooney. So haven't really lost much there yet. And
Mooney's
then
underrated, though, I think.
I mean, at this point, because Justin Fields is still there, I'd give him a D. Because unless told otherwise that they get a deal that I think they're going to get, the fact that he's still on their roster, knowing what they're going to do with the number 1 overall pick, I'd go D-. They haven't made any significant additions. They haven't really lost anybody either. But they haven't made any significant additions. But the key number 1 thing they had to do was get a good return for Justin Fields. They didn't even do that.
Yeah, but I still, this is more about free agency. This isn't about trade. So, I mean, I would say this is a C.
Yeah, but they included trades. This is offseason at this point. I think they've screwed up with Fields at this. He's going to get traded, but I
think it's proper. C's proper because they lost Mooney. I think the 2 biggest moves are they lost Mooney, but they did re-sign Johnson. I think that's fine. C is fine for them.
Cincinnati got a B. They got Geno Stone from the Ravens, Zach Moss, their new running back, Mike Gesicki, tight end. They have franchise tag T. Higgins. We'll get to that in a second. They brought back Drew Sample, Cody Ford. They've lost Joe Mixon, who they traded.
Yep.
Chibade Awuzie is a very good corner, but he's been hurt. left free agency. Irv Smith leaves. They upgraded from Irv Smith to Gesicki. I think that's an upgrade. Geno Stone, since they wouldn't pay Jesse Bates, they had to get into safety. They bring in Geno Soto's cheaper option of this. On T. Higgins, boy, there's a lot of smoke on trying to trade him in first-round picks to Minnesota for Justin Jefferson to reunite Justin Jefferson with Joe Burrow. And if they have Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow together, that might be the greatest, quarterback tandem of receivers ever.
Right.
And I'm not even trying to be hyperbolic. That might be ever. Yeah. Name a duo better than that.
Yeah. I mean,
if they are actually together. I don't know how they pay them all because they're going to pay Justin Jefferson $30 million a year and Jamar Chase $30 million a year. How are they going to do that?
You'd have to go back to St. Louis, I think, right? Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt.
Torrey Holt.
I think that's it because
two
really
Hall of Famers.
Yeah, I mean, who was
Rice and Taylor? Jerry Rice.
But even then,
but John Taylor's not Jerry
correct.
Rice.
Yeah, exactly. I think aren't Bruce and Holt in the Hall of Fame? So that's two.
Yes.
I mean, I'd have
two
to
Hall
look.
of Famers
I'd have to look to see who
in the primes at the same time. They played a long time together.
For a long time together. Because I think that's
Monk and Clark was a great combo. Nobody will put it in that category, but Monk and Clark was an incredible combo for a long time.
Right.
I can't think of anybody else that's this. If that actually happened, Jefferson and Chase with Burrow,
ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
Where else are they spending though? If they sign those three guys,
correct?
So, yeah,
their team's gonna be terrible.
It's gonna be like college. They're gonna have to score 54 points to win.
Their defense is going to be awful.
That's going to suck.
Awful. Let's see. Browns, they gave him a B+. They acquired Jerry Jeudy, Jameis Winston. They re-signed Zadarius Smith. They lost a few players that you wouldn't be overly concerned about. I'm watching them. Greg Newsome, I'm watching them. Yep. I think if he's available, he's an answer.
Right.
Cowboys, F. They haven't added anybody. Lost Tony Pollard, Tyler Biadasz, Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler, a couple of others. They don't have any cap space. See, it's funny. Everyone keeps saying, I thought you were going all in. Do you guys even look at the cap? They can't.
Right.
They literally cannot sign anybody unless they restructured Dak, which they didn't.
Which they didn't do.
So they are going to be worse.
Yep.
They're going to fill in some holes, along the way. And they're going to play out Dak's contract. Because if they restructure him now, that actually makes no sense.
That's right. Yep, exactly.
F.
Did you see Skip Bayless's tweet yesterday?
Oh, with the comma?
Yeah.
All in, comma. My ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
I mean, he does have a point. I mean, Jerry said all in, and they've done nothing, literally nothing. So.
Denver, they gave an F. No kidding.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
Justin Simmons gone. Russ gone with massive amounts of dead cap space. Yeah. I don't know. I honestly don't know what they're doing at all.
Right.
Detroit got a B. They got in Carlton Davis. That's a pretty good pickup. They got Marcus Davenport. I didn't even notice that.
Yep.
He's going to be rotational with Aiden Hutchinson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah.
That's a big pickup
Legit.
there. They did lose Jonah Jackson, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson did just go back to Philadelphia, so they lost him too. And had he not gotten hurt, when he showed up with the ski mask on, that was my favorite.
Yep.
I want everybody in Detroit to start showing up with ski masks.
Yep.
And had he not gotten hurt and done it 3 weeks in a row, I think people might have gone there.
Yeah, exactly.
And the merch team with the Lions were getting pumped about it.
Amazing.
The Honolulu blue ski masks? Oh, Lord.
Or
that's
when
amazing.
they wear the black jersey.
Yeah.
Everyone has black ones.
Or the silver ones.
The silver ones, yeah.
That would look like an old school Mexican wrestling mask. If you get that silver and
Libre.
Honolulu blue.
It's a Lucha Libre mask.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things. Scott Jackson went on vacation to Mexico at some point when we were working over at the other place. Mm-hmm. He brought me back a Redskins Lucha Libre mask.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's a prized possession.
Green Bay, they gave an A-. They got Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney. They lost Aaron Jones, where they released him, but I think, did they upgrade to Josh Jacobs? Maybe, arguable. They had to let David Bakhtiari go because he just can't get healthy.
Yeah. John
Runyon's gone, so they lost a couple pieces of their offensive line. Darnell Savage is gone, but they upgraded with McKinney. I like Savage, but I think McKinney's a major upgrade there. A-, sure. They actually just kind of replaced a couple of guys.
Yep.
And it's not like they got deals in the replacement of those couple of guys. All right, we'll do the rest next. Bram Washington Show, ESPN 630, Sports Capital. The Commanders had 3 restricted free agents: Derek Gore, Jabril Cox, Dejon Scooter Harris. None of them got tenders.
Yep.
So that just means not that they're not welcome to come back, but no, they're not trying to protect them.
Yes, correct.
So that's all that. That's the news of the league year opening.
That's also
the news of the
par
league
for
year
the course that this group doesn't hold pretty much everybody in high regards of bringing them back.
No,
except for
and
Jeremy
all those
Reaves.
guys were backups anyway.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Let's see. Here's the grades of so far in free agency.
But Bram, they're close.
Who? Who says so? Ron? Oh, man.
They're close.
Will Ron say that on ESPN next week? Let's see. Houston Texans gave them a B+. Got Joe Mixon, upgrade.
Yep.
Signed Daniil Hunter,
Yep.
big upgrade. Danico Autry, upgrade.
Yep.
I didn't see this. Aziz Al-Shire, I didn't know he went there. He went there. They acquired Jeff Okudah. They re-signed Dalton Schultz. They let Devin Singletary go, but Mixon's better. They lost Jonathan Grenard, but they got Daniil Hunter. That's funny. Grenard went to Minnesota. Hunter went to Houston.
Yeah.
Weird.
That's funny. Yeah.
They lost Blake Cashman. I agree. I think they've upgraded here, and they're on the fast track because C.J. Stroud's a good quarterback. So they're on the fast track, and I like this coach. I think you could just see it.
Yep.
You could see it. They got the right guy.
It's also worth mentioning to people that are doubting what the Commanders are doing. This is what the Texans did last year. I don't know if you remember what they did last year. They signed all of these solid free agents. No one crazy, but they knew they had to revamp the roster a little bit. They did. What did they do in the draft? Found their defensive captain, found their quarterback. All of a sudden, they were in the playoffs, and they won a playoff game this year.
Turns out they had a lot of really fast receivers, too.
Mm-hmm.
As it turned out, they drafted a lot of young receivers, and then all of a sudden, whoa, those guys look pretty good when you got a good quarterback.
Yep,
and it's not Davis Mills. Davis Mills.
Texans legend.
Yeah. I love it. I love it here. Let's
My
see.
favorite combination.
The Colts, they've given them a B. Re-signed Michael Pittman, Kenny Moore. They actually kept their guys. Lost Gardner Minshew, who's now in Vegas, but they haven't added anybody, but they kept their guys. They're calling it a B. They nearly made the playoffs last year.
I think
Richardson comes back. I don't think we've seen enough to know. Where is he? I don't know.
I've never been that impressed by Pittman, so I'd probably give him a C. I'd go one because you bought him, you have him at a legit number now. To me, that's actually bad.
I agree.
I think he reminds me of Terry in that he has the right attitude and he's going to be a solid player for that franchise, but he ain't Terry is what I'm getting at here on the field.
Well, Terry has a lot of highlights though. Where's the Pittman highlights?
Right, no, that's what I'm getting at. I'm saying he seems like he's a good locker room guy, good leader, but
he's
not
Brad. I like Pittman. Everybody likes Pittman. He's Brad. Show me the highlights.
Right.
When has he made some crazy difference-making play? Terry has those.
No, for sure.
Terry's actually got a bunch of those.
I prefaced it by saying he wasn't Terry, but I was saying he had some of the same attributes.
Yeah, but I hear you. He's not top 5.
Correct. Exactly. Right. Exactly.
And nobody thinks Terry is either. But Terry does have these, and that's why I think he's a number 1. When push comes to shove and given the opportunity, he's had a number of moments that have changed games.
Right. Exactly.
Let's see. Jacksonville, they gave a B. They got Mac Jones, player. Gabe Davis, Mitch Morse, Darnell Savage, all upgrades. Re-signed Ezra Cleveland, restructured Brandon Sheriff, kept Josh Allen. I agree. I think they've done well here.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Yep. They did pretty good.
Yeah, I think they did well here. I think this is what we're going to find out. Can Trev play at the high level?
That's right.
That's all it is this year.
Correct. Yep.
Are you a top 10 to top 5 quarterback? Because you are the 1-1. And last time I checked, before you showed up in the league, they said you hadn't lost a game in 5 years.
That's right. Yes.
Lost a bunch of them with old Herb. Thumbs.
Which we gave a mulligan to you, which is fine.
Because we were thumbs made your life hellacious, and we get
Everyone gets a pass. It's COVID year. Everyone gets another year of eligibility.
When you got a coach kicking the kicker in the butt because he missed a field goal and he's nuts.
Right.
Or he says, I didn't do that thing with my thumbs, and there it is on video.
Or remember how he got there too? Remember that?
Right.
They played in Cleveland and he didn't get on the team plane.
Didn't get on the team plane.
Guy.
Yeah, come on, man.
What are we doing?
Going back to Columbus. See my girlfriend.
And that was week 2, wasn't it? Wasn't it so early on in the season?
And it was probably some dumb bar, too. It wasn't even a good bar. It was a dumb bar.
No, I think, doesn't he own a bar down there?
Oh, maybe.
I feel
maybe that's
does.
what it is. That's me. I'm back. Hey, guys.
He stinks.
He stinks.
I hate him. I hate it. There's a few people I hate. I hate Urban.
Chiefs got a B+. They got that punt god guy who got, they picked him up.
Right.
Let's see. Kept Chris Jones.
Yep. Big.
So far, they still have L'Jarius Sneed. We'll see.
Yep.
Drew Tranquil comes back. They lost our guy Allegretti. I got a bite from Travis Kelce. I could play that probably tomorrow about where he loves. He loves him. Willie Gage
just remember,
too.
Trav loved Bieniemy too. So let's
Also, old Patty Pat just freed up a lot of cap space.
Right. Yep. Right.
So who they going after? Justin Jefferson. Who they going after?
I think aim a tier lower. Like, I think they could snag a wide receiver from somebody that maybe someone doesn't want to pay, and then they know he's going to be a stud in their offense. I don't know who it's going to be.
Gallup's available with Dallas?
Could do that.
Mike
Gallup's
Williams is suddenly available
now. Yep, for sure.
Do they want to give up Keenan Allen out there? Probably not to the Chiefs.
Probably not to them, but Williams is actually a good one because if you give him a front-loaded deal and just get it done with this year and you have him for 2 years, he's the number one, yeah.
Raiders, they gave a B. They signed Christian Wilkins, which outside of Brian Burns in that trade, probably the biggest impact player of free agency. Yep. They got Gardner Minshew, so that doesn't solve their quarterback problem, guys.
Yeah, they're going to draft somebody. They're going to draft somebody.
Or get Fields.
Or
get Fields. I'm still watching Seattle. That's the team I'm watching on that one. Let's see. Chargers, they gave a C so far. They got Gus Edwards, but lost Austin Eckler. They lost Kenneth Murray, who I think is an average linebacker. They brought in Will Disley. They haven't really done anything, but they're also in cap hell. They're like the Cowboys. They did get Khalil Mack to restructure, but it means they might dump Joey Bosa. I think they're probably trying to trade him. I think they may release him. He's had so many injuries.
It wouldn't shock me.
I don't know what the cap savings is. I'd have to look.
Right.
The Rams are giving a B+. I'd almost go A here. Colby Parkinson's an upgrade at tight end, but not a great one, but it's an upgrade.
Right.
Jonah Jackson coming in there and Darius Williams coming in there. And then re-signing Kevin Dotson. I'm telling you, man, watch. Like, with that offensive line that they've built and Kyron Williams came along and those two receivers that they have and just any kind of upgrade at tight end, if Stafford's healthy, that's top 5 offense. Watch.
Yep, right, for sure.
Top 5 offense next year. Defensively, I don't know, but top 5 offense. Miami, they gave a B-. They did get Jordan Poyer, Shaq Barrett, Jonnu Smith, Anthony Walker, Aaron Brewer, and Jordan Brooks. Jordan Brooks, an underrated signing there. Lost Robert Hunt, Christian Wilkins, Brandon Jones, Andrew Van Ginkel, Jerome Baker, and released Xavier Howard. I don't know.
They had a lot of signings, though.
That's a different team.
Sure.
That's a really good team. That's a very different team suddenly.
I'm not mad about a swap out, though. Look at all the guys they brought in. You and I have both had the same conversation, though. They've faded in the last 2 seasons. I like that. And there wasn't a huge losing Wilkins is the biggest one, but are you mad at them swapping the roster out after they faded 2 years in a row? I'm not. I think you gotta shake it up somehow.
Vikings, they gave a C-, but they lost Kirk and replaced him with Darnold. That's an F.
That's a D, bare minimum.
Like, they're like, well, we got Aaron Jones. Okay. You lost Hunter and replaced it with Grenard. Okay.
And you had to sign Jones because you let Cook go last year. That's a D.
Pats, they gave a B. Jacoby Brissett, Antonio Gibson, Austin Hooper, Sione Takitaki, one of my favorite names, is among those in. They re-signed a lot of their guys. They traded Mac Jones. They haven't really lost anybody big. Matthew Slater did retire. That's a big deal from special teams. All right, B. All right, fine. I mean, they're not demonstrably better. And then in that division with those teams like Buffalo and Miami, I love Jacoby, but if he's the starter, good luck with that. Saints, they've given a D. They haven't done anything. I agree. Giants, they gave a B. They're tough to call at this point. Signed a guard, they needed it. Allows them to move Evan Neal back to the other guard. So their offensive line, which was awful for years, might be good now if they stay healthy. And they acquired Brian Burns, who I would argue best impact player of the free agency outside of Wilkins. He and him, they are. That said, lost Xavier McKinney, let Saquon walk for no good reason. Tyrod's gone. They replace him with Drew Lock. All right, B-.
I say B. I think B is fine. As I said, too, you're mad they walked away from a 7-year running back? I get it.
I just don't think the money is that high. It's like it's not making $30 million a year. It's not cap prohibitive.
You don't sign bad deals to sign bad deals?
I guess. Jets, D+. That's the same team that signed Daniel Jones.
Yeah, no.
So they signed bad deals.
They want to get out of it.
They signed bad deals.
They want to get out of it.
Jets D+. They got Tyrod in, so that's better than Zach. Lost Bryce Huff, but they couldn't keep him. I don't know. D seems a little strong.
You never know. Tyrod.
I think they've really done anything. I'd give him a C for just not doing very much.
You never know. Tyrod might be the new starter once the presidential campaigns pick up.
They gave an A to the Eagles.
Yep.
They gave a B to the Steelers. I'd go A. Russell Wilson for $1.2 million and giving up no assets, acquiring Patrick Queen, and losing who? Nobody?
Right.
Like, that's an A. Total A. Niners, they gave a B. Lose a few people, gain a few people. They don't have a lot of flexibility, whatever. Seahawks B+. They haven't added anybody yet. I'm telling you, they're the ones. I think they're going to get Fields. I'm calling them now. I think they're the ones that are going to get him. Tampa Bay, they gave a B+ because they re-signed Baker and Mike Evans. Got them both back. Tennessee, they gave a B. I think underrated, very good offseason so far. Tony Pollard, Lloyd Cushenberry, Kenneth Murray, Chibade Awuzie lost not much.
Right.
Not much.
Henry. That's the biggest loss, but still old running back. So, fine.
Well, that's saying about the Ravens too. Old running back, bad deals, right? Okay, right.
No,
I think Tennessee has had an underrated, very good offseason so far. And, it'll depend on Levis. And then for us, we got a B+. We have 8 million signings. Lost Brissett, Gibson, Sadiq Charles, Cam Curl's about to go. Kendall Fuller's about to go.
Yep.
We'll see with everybody else. I think we've got a good baseline. I think that's fair. B+. We didn't hit one out of the park yet. It's like, unless Luvu turns into a really, really good linebacker, then we haven't hit one out of the park yet. But we rebuilt a roster and have flexibility and showed discipline with every single deal.